In the last section of 4.5, we're going to look at the irrational conjugates theorem. It basically says if you have a radical, you're going to have both the positive and the negative radical as zeros. They always come in pairs. So if you have a 0 of a plus radical b, you will also have a 0 of a minus radical b. Or if you have a 0 of radical 2, you will also have a 0 of negative radical 2. So if I'm giving both 2 and radical 2 as zeros, I also know negative radical 2 will also be a 0. And then you can multiply the three zeros in order to figure out what polynomial it came from. So we're going to basically be working backwards. You're going to put the 2 back into the parentheses. Notice it goes opposite. Put this one back in the parentheses, and this one too, and this one goes positive. After you do that, multiply the two radical ones together first. It'll be a little bit easier. X times x is x squared. Notice when I FOIL, I get positive radical 2, and then I get a negative radical 2, which they will cancel. And then negative radical 2 times a positive radical 2 will give me negative radical 4, which is the same thing as negative regular 2 with no more radical. So I basically have x squared minus 2 times, bring down the x minus 2 that I already had. And then we're going to FOIL again. So I get x cubed minus 2x squared plus a 2. And write your final answer in order from highest power to smallest power. Okay? So let's look at example 5 in our notes. Notice in example 5 they give us zeros of 3 and 2 plus radical 5. This is a pretty difficult problem. In fact, we'll save it for pre-calculus. Let's just change the problem to just radical 5. So really our zeros are 3, radical 5, and what you have to know is there's also a negative radical 5 because the radicals always come in pairs. So then place them back in the parentheses with x. So it'll be x minus 3, x minus radical 5, and then x plus radical 5. And then all you have to do is multiply it back together. Multiplying the first two, I'm going to FOIL it out. I get x squared. Now when I do FOIL, the outer and the inners will cancel on these two. And then I have minus radical 5 times radical 5 will just be regular 5. Carry down the x minus 3, and then FOIL these two together. So distribute my x through gives me x cubed minus 5x. Distributing my negative 3 through gives me negative 3x squared plus 15. And go ahead and throw that in order. Make it x cubed minus 3x squared minus 5x plus 15. So now go ahead and try monitoring progress number 7. Again, let's change the problem to just radical 5. So we have zeros of 4 and radical 5. Think about what your third zero will be. And then put them back in parentheses and multiply out to get your final answer.